again, everybody, and welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And, I remember the good old days when, entertainment was funny. And if it was shocking, it was also, that made it even better. There were times where, in the good old days when Howard Stern was a man, he would say these outrageous things, but he would say things that you wish you could say but couldn't say or wouldn't say. There was a guy named many years ago on the radio named Bob Grant, and he's the guy who first invented what was called combat radio, where he would basically just yell at people and call them names and mock them. And he was wonderful. And he's the guy who pretty much is the reason why guys like Howard Stern and Don Imus were around. Then you had great TV shows that mocked politicians and mocked the, vapid celebrities of the time. Johnny Carson was wonderful, that he'd skewer people. Jay Leno, and many people don't like Jay Leno. Jay Leno was vicious to politicians and to celebrities or famous people that were, always in the news. Just vicious. Letterman to a certain extent too, until he became a woke zombie, much like Howard Stern. But if you're into pop culture and you heard about the latest episode, the season episode of South Park, you know of the AI opening depicting a Donald Trump in the desert, removing his clothing. Spoilers if you haven't seen it, but to hell with it. And basically undressing, getting naked, and you see a small penis with eyes kind of like wiggle its way between his legs. And you say to yourself, okay, they're going to go after Trump. This is what we're going to see, and this is how it's going to be for the next 23 episodes, or how many episodes they're going to have. But then the show just, I have to say, I many people aren't going to agree with me. It was just blah and bland, just recycled jokes. They talked about what happened over the last week, and you could tell that the show was rushed and written quickly, because they went over the Colbert stuff, they went over the CBS stuff, they went over the merger. They bring in poor Jesus again, and I mean, as somebody who wrote for a living for a little while on television, you can tell what's rushed and what was put on to just shock you and not entertain you or make you think or even make you laugh. Now, some people who hate Trump are going to love this shit, and they're going to laugh at whatever. And some people who love Trump, did I say some people who hate Trump? Some people who hate Trump are going to laugh at it anyway. Some people who love Trump are going to lose their shit, which they are. And somebody like me, who's kind of in the middle, is like, I'm kind of disappointed. I thought it would be a little bit more creative. A fresh look. The picture you have here is Satan in bed with Donald Trump. We've seen this already. We did just with Saddam Hussein. Jesus coming to town and being kind of a goofy hippie. We've seen that already. Cartman complaining that, woke is over. So, what am I going to do? He's always complaining. It's always the same shit. It wasn't fresh. It wasn't new. It wasn't something that you think these guys have been on hiatus for 2-3 years, that they'd be able to come up with something awesome. They didn't. They came up with something rushed. And there's a theory to that we'll get into. It's more of an internet theory or internet conspiracy theory. But it just seems like this was such a, let's just throw it out. Let's just make an AI video of Trump. We'll put eyeballs on his penis so it can't be considered pornography or indecent. And away we go. And we'll just recycle old jokes from the last 26 previous years of the show. That's basically what they did. And hey, listen, if you make money recycling old jokes, good for you. I mean, Jerry Seinfeld's been doing it for, what, 20 years? I mean, what the hell? But the opener, to me, was more shock than mock. You know, there was nothing really funny about it. I mean, again, if you are a person who hates Donald Trump, and I don't know how you could hate somebody, but if you're a person who hates Donald Trump, you were cracking up. You were laughing your ass off. And if you were a person who supports Donald Trump, and I don't know why you're watching South Park anyway, you probably were pissed off. And you were probably outraged by it. But, again, we live in a world, in a country, in Western civilization, the greatest gift given to mankind, with the exception of God himself. And we have the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech within, you know, it's on TV, so we can't go overboard here. We can't become the Weimar Republic, even though we're on the cusp of becoming the Weimar Republic. But these guys are allowed to make fun of who they want. You know, a couple of years ago, when they were making fun of Kathleen Kennedy and how woke, you know, Disney and Star Wars had become, people were laughing. People were loving it. Conservatives were loving it. Now, did these guys ever go after Joe Biden like this? I'm not 100% sure, because I'm going to be honest with you, I haven't followed the show for a little while. I don't remember when Barack Obama was president, them ever doing anything remotely close to this. Now, Trump is a white conservative or white guy, and he's on the wrong side of the aisle, so he's an easy target. Just like Jesus. I mean, you have two guys here. One is a Jew, and the other one is an atheist who mocks religion left and right, who basically tell people, if you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, you're a fucking moron. But yet, they always put Jesus in their shows, which is fine, which is their right. But at least do it in a funny, intelligent way. Just don't throw them in there and say, hey, listen, you know, if you keep doing this, you know, look what happened to CBS's merger. We'll sue you. That's one of the gags in the show, is that Donald Trump is having an affair with Satan, and he threatens to sue everybody. He threatens to sue South Park, and then Jesus comes down to try and get the people from South Park to change their ways, and he reminds them of what happened to the merger and Stephen Colbert. This is how you know it was written very, very recently. And that's the episode, really. Nothing else really happens that is interesting to report. But everybody's talking about the opening, which was this 90-second AI of Trump in the desert, taking his clothes off and, mocking his body. And I thought we lived in a world where body shaming was something that was bad for you. I guess it doesn't apply to white men. Now, will Trump take the bait? Now, his press release, or his press corps, did come out, of course, and respond to this. Now, Trey Parker, who is one of the creators of this show, had a brief response Thursday to the anger from the White House over the season premiere of South Park, especially showing a naked Donald Trump in bed with Satan. Parker had a kind of a mocking response saying, "We're terribly sorry." We know he doesn't mean it, but Parker was asked for his reaction at the San Diego Comic-Con recently, this week. And, he was just, he doesn't give a shit. Earlier in the day, the White House issued a statement on the premiere, and Taylor Rogers, a White House spokesperson, I don't know if that's a man or a woman, you never know these days, responded by saying, and I quote, "The show hasn't been relevant in over 20 years and is hanging on by a thread with uninspired ideas and a desperate attempt for attention." She's got a point there. Trump has delivered on more promises in the last 6 months than any president in this country's history, and no fourth-rate show can derail Trump's hot streak. This person does have a point. They are looking for attention. Comedy Central's numbers are just abysmal. But these are going to fall on deaf ears. This is going to be considered conservative crying. Later in the panel, Parker did say that they did get a note from producers on Tuesday night about the episode. Now, when you make a show, you have to have what's called a cold viewing. So the producers or the executives of the network sit in a big studio and they watch the running of the show, or at least not the final cut, because they always determine what the final cut is, but they will watch the show and they'll say, hey, this can go, this can't. Parker was quoted as saying, they said, okay, we're going to blur out the penis. And Parker responded by saying, no, you're not going to blur out the penis. That's nonsense. The network can say or do whatever they want. It's their network. If there were advertising heads there, they can say, no, we don't want to. We don't want you to show this. And if you do show this, we're pulling our ads and we're pulling our money. And guess what happens? There's no penis there. Now, of course, none of this happened because there was a penis. But the premiere also took aim at Paramount and the $16 million lawsuit that Trump won some time back. And the crazy part about a lot of this stuff is that the South Park creators reportedly just signed a deal, a 5-year deal, it seems. Let me see if this is correct. A 5-year deal for 50 new episodes and streaming rights worth $1.5 billion. So this deal was made before the episode was shown. Now, before anybody thinks, well, now Trey Parker and the other guy have all the power, these deals have an enormous amount of loopholes in them that can get these companies out of paying them a dime. Trust me. Paramount has plenty of lawyers who looked this over and said, if they do this, we can fire them and they won't get a dime. If they do that, we can fire them. And now they'll get a parachute payment, of course, but they won't get the $1.5 billion if they fuck up. Now, in the episode, as I mentioned, Trump sues the town of South Park when its residents challenge the presence of Jesus Christ, who is an actual person, in South Park Elementary. Jesus, of course, tells them that they should settle the suit. Jesus says, and I quote, "You guys saw what happened to CBS. Yeah, well, guess who owns CBS? Paramount. Do you really want to end up like Colbert?" And this is just evidence that this, like I said, this was written recently. It wasn't something that was planned or scheduled over the last 6 months. That usually that's how shows are written. CBS and Paramount executives said that the Late Show canceling was a financial decision. We went over this before, but it's been seen by a lot of people on the left that are in the media business that this was Paramount and CBS kowtowing to Trump. And South Park's creators wanted to point that out. So it seems that Paramount itself has been taking shots for what what has been going on over the last month or so. Now, does Trump take the bait? I don't know. I mean, if you're telling me this show is a fourth-rate show, which I don't even know what that means, but if you're telling me this show is meaningless and it means nothing, I mean, you'll just leave it at that. He could. I believe that there is a law about using AI and using a person's image and using it in a sexual manner or in a manner that is pornographic, I would say. I'd have to look into this more, but I do know that there is a law and that Trump could remove this image or maybe even remove the entire show. I don't know. I'd have to go into that. And if you know, put it in the comments, please. But that might be the strategy of the South Park creators, right? The right, the conservatives, for years were talking about woke and cancel culture and blah, 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 blah. Well, now that Trump has been hit with this stuff, is Trump going to try to cancel South Park? This is the conundrum that he's in. Now, I would say just let it go. It's easy for me to say this because nobody's body shaming me about the size of my penis. But if you're Donald Trump and you're the most powerful man in America or the world, whatever, if you believe in that, does a lion worry about the barking of a dog? No. I just don't know why they can't leave Jesus alone. If you don't believe in him, if you don't love him, if you don't think he's significant in world culture, if you don't even think he existed, why bring him into this? Just leave homie alone. And if you don't believe in Jesus, how or God, how can you believe that there's a Satan, that Satan exists or the devil exists? How do you believe that? And you put him in every episode that you can. Now, attacking Trump's body and the size of his penis is a very feminine trait. And these guys, they took the low blow here. They went for the easy hanging fruit, the low hanging fruit, by going after Trump this way. First it was always about the hair and the fact that he was orange. Now it's about him having a small penis, which I don't even know how they would know that, but that's a very feminine thing to do. It's very low quality too. There's nothing interesting about it. There's nothing funny about it. Like, oh, you have a small dick. Oh, it's like saying your mom's fat. It's just stupid. Not creative at all. So they took an L for that. But the big conspiracy theory that is hitting the net is about this merger that is happening or is in the works of happening. Now, the latest episode of South Park's episode has undoubtedly pissed off Trump. And according to some sources on the net, and we have to take that with a grain of salt, the new South Park episode wasn't just satire. It might have been a strategic sabotage in effect. The theory goes, again, this is all speculation, that Matt Stone and Trey Parker are using Trump as bait to blow up their own parent company's multi-billion-dollar merger. Now, this, of course, this sounds outrageous because, again, South Park isn't that big of a cultural show. I mean, they have to do stuff like this to be in the news. But if you dig a little bit and you trace recent history between the show, Paramount, and Donald Trump, it doesn't sound as crazy. There is a bit of smoke there. I don't think this is This is actual fact, but there is a little bit of smoke here, and it's fun. We can go back a couple of years ago. Warner Brothers owns HBO, right? They sue Paramount for streaming the rights of South Park. Paramount had sold HBO Max access to their back catalog, but later tried to remove new schedules and episodes on its own platform, Paramount Plus. Warner Brothers cried foul, and they sued. And the lawsuit dragged on and on and on, creating chaos behind the scenes. And they inadvertently complicated South Park's production schedule. They threw it clear off. Now you enter Skydance Media, right? 2024, just last year, Paramount started negotiations to merge with the studio in a bid to salvage its fledgling network. Now you have complications that emerged there, right? The Trump lawsuit over the CBS interview with Kamala Harris. That was a big one. What does Paramount do? They want to remove the obstacle from the merger, and Paramount agrees to pay Trump the $16 million to settle out of court. Skydance are eager to smooth things over, pledged another $20 million post-merger. So that's $36 million Trump's going to get in his pocket for that stupid interview on CBS. All of this unfolded as the FCC, which is controlled by Donald Trump and his administration, delayed the regulatory approval. This is why Paramount was so eager to get this lawsuit out of the way. Then you have the Colbert stuff happen, and that turned into a mess. And now you have South Park. The creators of South Park were growing increasingly frustrated with the studio. It's rumored that the incoming Sundance executive reportedly interfered with terms of their new deal. They delayed production for weeks, and it's alleged that they meddled in the creators' negotiations with other platforms like Netflix and HBO, and I believe also Apple. Now, 2 weeks ago, the duo reportedly threatened to sue Paramount themselves. That was in the news as well. Paramount, shortly after that threat, handed them over this billion-dollar contract. Almost immediately, the episode aired. Now, does Skydance have any say in this? I mean, how are they going to merger with this TV show of nut jobs, having a billion-dollar contract, and they're going to buy Paramount and that contract? How do they feel? Do they have any say in this? They must have. There's no way Paramount executives could have gotten that type of contract through without Sundance's approval. So Sundance must have some say in this. Otherwise, this merger is not going through. Now, the depiction of Trump arrived just a day after the Paramount South Park deal was finalized, and many people don't think that this was an accident. The theory is that the South Park creators have been furious over the years, and they used this episode to deliberately provoke Trump, hoping that he would again sue Paramount and using his influence to derail the merger. Now, sounds more like it's a movie thing, but this is a rage baiting a man that usually takes the bait. And the creators are looking to punish the studio who, in their eyes, had overstepped their bounds, interfering with their creativity. Now, in a stroke of genius, if you believe that this theory is correct, the stroke of genius is that they cashed out on their billion-dollar check from the studio before all this happened. Now, there's no there's no confirmation. There's no evidence that Trump plans to relitigate anything again with Paramount or Skydance. But with the FCC is still holding off on approving this merger. And Trump is impulsive. Is this enough to reignite tensions between Trump, Paramount, Skydance, and the South Park show? Did this one episode, did that 90-second opener, did the rest of the show, could that bait Trump into derailing this merger? Who knows? Was this show a trap? We'll find out. Will Trump take the bait? We'll find out. But for South Park, for these creators, they need to watch their step as well. Because it's one thing to mock on TV and be funny and say, "Oh, we're comedians, ha ha." This is a blood sport now that they know nothing about. Politics, legal systems, they can destroy you within a snap of a finger. And if there is litigation here, and if Trump says that this AI thing was, and again, I hate to comment on it, but I know that there is some sort of law that they had just passed about this AI stuff depicting people in the nude and all that. If he does go this way, who's to say that he doesn't swat these guys and embarrass them and embarrass the shit out of them, like so many people on the right were during the Biden administration? You got to remember, these SWAT teams, they come at like 3, 4 in the morning, and they get you in your underwear. Now, will Trump do that? Probably not. Will Trump hurt the Skydance Paramount merger? I can see it happening. It's business. It's business and it's politics. And I'm telling you, the media is very lazy in reporting this because they feel that, well, you know, that these guys, they got their 1.5 billion already. They're okay. Oh, no, they're not. These huge corporations, they will keep you in court forever. And if you have the President of the United States and the entire federal government after you, they can destroy you if you're worth it. Are these guys worth it? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that Trump has bigger fish to fry. I mean, all the shit that's going on with Thailand and Cambodia now, this Epstein stuff just won't go away. Now he's saying that he will release some of the list. Macron, recognizing Palestine has all the Israelis up in arms. So I think this is the least of his worries. But I thought it was an interesting night and an interesting day, especially on social media. People were having fun with it, at Trump's expense, of course. But anyhow, as we always say, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And be careful, gentlemen. As you can see, there are other men out there who, they may not believe in God, but they do believe in Satan. Because he's always busy. Be a man. Have a backbone. Because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. We'll see you later.